In this video, I'm going to talk about how pesticide regulation works in America. This is going to be an informational video. It's not going to be as entertaining as some of my other videos. So if you're not as into the technical elements or the details, you don't have to watch this video. It may not be for you. So feel free to skip ahead to one of my others. But if you're like me and you find yourself stuck in a world of competing ideas, just one side talking past another, and you don't know what to believe, and you feel like if you want to get the truth, you got to find it yourself, well, this video is for you because I'm going to walk you through A, what I've found through my independent research, and B, how you can look this stuff up yourself so you don't have to trust me. I'm going to tell you, it's pretty hard to find good information on pesticides on the internet. And when you do find good information, you don't always know what information's bad and what information's good. But it's mostly out there once you finally dig past all the crap. So I want to start off with the basics. What is a pesticide? A pesticide is one of a whole bunch of different life-killing products in one form or another. So it might kill rodents, it might kill insects, it might kill fungi, it might kill plants, it might kill fish. All those different types of things, fungicides, rodenticides, miticides, insecticides, pesticides, each of those are all types of pesticide. So it's an umbrella term for all of those. Okay. So one thing I wanted to know right away was, so how many pesticides are out there? And if you Google this, you can easily come across the following information. Over 1 billion pounds of pesticides are used in America. Okay, that's great, but that wasn't really my question. I mean, that sounds like a lot of pesticide, I guess. But I wanted to know how many different pesticides there are. Because if there's only 10 pesticides, keeping track of which ones are safe and dangerous, it seems reasonably doable. But according to my research, and again, it's very hard to get perfect information, there's somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 actively registered pesticide ingredients out there. Active chemicals used for pesticide purposes, which can be combined any number of ways into pesticide products. So how does that all work? How are they regulated? So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is responsible for deciding if a pesticide is safe or not. They have a registration process where basically you propose a new chemical, usually get a patent for it, and then you propose it to the EPA, saying, I invented this new chemical, it's so great it can kill termites. And they go through a process of evaluating the potential health effects, ask for studies on environmental consequences and effects on different animals, and eventually decide whether or not it's safe. This is no lightweight process. The decision will probably be in a report of over 100 pages, and numerous studies are conducted in this process. And then if your pesticide does get registered, it will have to be re-registered every 15 years at least. So when I learned this, that all sounded pretty reassuring to me. Oh, good. It's good that there are scientists looking at the health effects of these and doing different studies. So that's good. It sounds like these people really are being pretty rigorous, right? Well, yes and no. So for a given pesticide, they might, do a number of animal studies. They'll study bacteria to see if it causes genetic mutations. They might test it on mice, rats, bunnies, dogs, all the above. to look for all kinds of different health effects. Traditionally they might give it to an animal in varying doses for 2 weeks, and then put the animal down and dissect it and look for any kind of symptom they can, inflamed organs, brain abnormalities, anything like that. However, though that is a great start, there's definitely some criticism out there about whether that is an adequate model. And some of the points that have been raised in academia include, well, A, people aren't animals, and so when the human brain is fundamentally different, like we're the only talking, writing, science performing species, how can you test for the same effects when we're the only animal that talks, right? Like, what would autism look like in a mouse? I mean, scientists do try to make models of ADD and autism in other animals to varying success levels, but it's pretty hard to make a conclusive case there, especially for something like autism that might not kick in a human for 2 years, might be a regressive illness. Might be very hard to see that in a short-term animal study. Another complaint that people have made is that some of these pesticides are most dangerous in utero, meaning when they get into a baby that's still in the mother's womb. So a lot of these pesticide tests don't test that. They just give it to the animal as opposed to giving it to a pregnant mother and then testing that on the offspring. So that's a very good criticism, especially in light of all the effects. A lot of research is uncovering in utero effects for different chemicals and pesticides. Another argument is some effects are delayed, and this has been especially true with organophosphates, where the damages aren't immediately visible. So if you kill the animal at the end of the 1-week study, how are you going to see if there were very long-term effects? And of course, some things aren't tested for. We don't know to test for everything. So from what I've seen in the studies I've read, they don't usually look for, say, decrease in sperm count in these animals, even though that is a big problem right now in the developed world that might be linked to pesticides. So you can't find the things you're not looking for, no matter how good your study is. So these are all problems that people are bringing up, and I think they have really good points. So they're doing their best at the EPA. They're not always right. So one thing they try to do is they try to set a safety margin. So they'll find the lowest dose they see an effect on the animal in, and then they'll divide it by 10, and they'll divide it by 10 again. So they'll divide it by 100 in the hopes that that makes this huge margin of error. Does that work? Not always. And so this takes me to a current example, right? So when I started this channel, my intent was not to get political. My intent was to follow the facts. And whether that took me to politics or not, that depends on where the facts take me. But all else being equal, I don't want to get political because I think this affects both sides of the aisle a lot. I think there's both people on both sides who should and do care about this. I don't think there's any reasonable person who doesn't want safe food. It's one of the most fundamental things that unites us as people, right? We all want that. But when you look at Chlorpyrifos, this is a pesticide that the EPA was going to suspend due to safety concerns. And this pesticide exemplifies part of the problem with the EPA's process, because in their own process, they decided this chemical seemed safe, and it has been allowed for a while now. However, some academic researchers took some blood samples from newborns from the umbilical cord, and they looked for this chemical in it, and they compared that to the infant health. And what they found was a lot of infants had this in their blood, and it was related to motor development problems as well as other mental problems, attention problems. So again, pesticides potentially being related to some of these spiking illnesses we see. And these were not discovered in the EPA's tests. And so they brought this up, and the EPA said, you know what, you're right, this is pretty dangerous. There is no safe level for this pesticide that we see. However, due to political changes, a new head of the EPA came in who overruled that decision. And so right now, in September 2017, it's a highly contentious issue. And as it stands, Congress is trying to pass a law that would circumvent the EPA, making chlorpyrifos illegal. Will that happen? We'll see. But this is the kind of thing you need to know to be an informed voter. Because if your party's telling you that this is part of their agenda, then I don't care who you are, they're not representing you. Even if you work for a chemical company, the money you're going to get is not worth the health risk to you, your children, your grandchildren. This is not good for anyone, in my opinion. So the EPA process is there. It's systematic. It's okay. It's not perfect. And I want to show you, if you want, some links below the video right now that will let you research these products yourself. So you can see a database of all the pesticide products that are allowed, canceled, or restricted use. And then you can link to a couple other databases that'll tell you in-depth information about these chemicals, toxicity data. You'll get to read these studies they do on animals to look for health effects at what doses and what do they see. So really empowering you here to look into this yourself and come to a conclusion on your own. But I know what I think. I think when it comes to health, you better play it safe. But you be you. You decide for yourself. That's all for this week.